What is going on, everybody? We are back for the Ccpodcast, the podcast where we don't tell you what it stands for. You know what I'm talking about? We're here with my boy, Jacob Allen Nielsen, and some special guests. And oh yeah, because of one of our special guests, I got told I need to start introducing myself. So my name is Mike Sexton. What is going on, everybody? We're excited to be here. Jacob, what's going on, bro?
Dude, I'm excited to be here as well. Praise God you actually introduced yourself. Otherwise, nobody else would know who you are, goon.
Because we have no video today either.
Especially no video today. So we want to be able to introduce our friends from Los Altos Grace right down the road. So the first voice that you're going to hear, stealing from Jacob Baumer himself, is, and I have to ask you this, is your voice deep because you are so tall? So this is Jacob Baumer.
I'm not a biologist or doctor, so I don't really know, but I am told that when your vocal cords are longer, that it creates a deeper sound. So the physics of that makes sense, but I cannot scientifically confirm.
Because you sound tall. So I don't know if people are listening right now and be like, that man sounds tall. It's because you are. How tall are you exactly?
Exactly 6'6" and 3/4.
Oh, smokes. That is very tall.
It's precise, too.
Yeah.
And Mike and I aren't small guys by any means.
No.
But like dwarf in comparison. The next voice you're going to hear, stealing Jacob Baumer's little intro thing, is one of Jake Mathis. Jake Mathis, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Standing in at an astonishing 5'6", 5'9" on a good day if I'm wearing the right shoes. The inability of saying many big words can probably make a orange laugh. I am Jake Lee Mathis the first.
Wait! Hold on, keep going. Your full name.
I did. I said Jake Lee Mathis the first.
Wait, make an orange laugh?
Yeah, man. I'm pretty sure that I can make anything peel.
Oh! Wait, is that an expression you've ever heard? Or did you make that up?
No, I'm really good at making up my own things.
Okay.
Like that, you know?
Oh my gosh, my forehead is sweating.
I love Mike is looking at me to explain. He's like, explain this. I can't. This is existence.
It's off the cuff.
Yeah, I just probably top 15 most entertaining people you'll ever meet.
Oh,
I gotta be.
I love that.
I gotta be kind of.
I love the confidence.
A little bit confident
impressed.
saying top 15, but more likely top 3. But sometimes who knows? You might know Chris Pratt.
Oh, wait.
I don't yet.
Not yet though.
No.
Soon.
Future
Soon to
guests
know.
on the pod.
So we met you guys specifically. I met Jacob at FCA. What was that, like this beginning of this year, right?
Well, we met 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Because I was really ambitious and felt like I was going to connect every youth pastor in the city.
At Starbucks.
And that didn't really work out. But I got to meet you.
That was a cool conversation.
You're one of 2 actual sit-down conversations I had with people. It was you and Simon Viss.
Oh.
And I didn't meet with anyone else.
Well, at least I reached out. That's nice.
Yeah, no, it was
sometimes they
great.
don't respond, so
Yeah.
that's good. That's really good. And then Jake Mathis, I probably met you earlier this year at FCA.
I remember the day exactly. It was at an FCA meeting, and you walked through the door, and you probably made 2 people laugh, and I was like, great.
Wow.
A funny guy.
Oh, love that. Another
Competition.
funny guy.
Yeah.
Because you can make an orange peel.
Yes.
Praise God.
And then now we play disc golf most likely on a weekly basis. Sometimes we'll play Fortnite together. Jake Mathis doesn't like Fortnite. He's only on Call of Duty Warzone now, but he's exclusive. Whatever, we get it. You like the tactical play. We don't need to get into all that right now. Michael Sexton, we need a baby update. What's going on? What's the news? What's the word with the baby?
Basically, we got a big old baby. Baby's massive. All right? So
B.O.B.
Yeah, big old baby.
Big old.
A B.O.B., a big old baby. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm not good at those things. Like what's those called?
Acronym.
I'm not. See? I don't even know what it's called, so I can't be good at it.
I'm not good at those things.
So we are 36 weeks pregnant. We're measuring a little bit over 38 weeks pregnant. Going to get an ultrasound in the next 6 days.
Yeah.
For us to figure out how big our baby actually is, like by weight.
Oh.
Once that's figured out, there's a good chance we're going to have to pull the baby out via C-section because you cannot give birth to a baby that big. So we will find out here very soon what my wife is going to be dealing with. And
what's the typical due date for a baby? How many weeks is that thing?
So it's about 40
typically?
weeks.
40
weeks.
So more or less 3 to 4 weeks out.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was general
No,
knowledge.
I don't know.
idea.
I don't know either.
Pregnancy,
Yeah.
it lasts about 40 weeks.
40 weeks, okay.
And so we are 36 weeks. Once you hit 36 weeks, if you go into labor at 36 weeks, they don't try to prevent it or anything like that.
Right.
If you try to go into labor early, they'll try and slow down the process to let the baby cook a little longer. You know
How
what
do
I
they
mean?
slow down the process?
They give
know?
you some sort of steroids,
Drugs.
and it slows down the process of like the contractions. I don't know any of that
Dude,
stuff. You know what I
medicine
mean?
is crazy. to
It's
me.
crazy. Yeah, my sister at 32 weeks went into labor or preterm labor, and they slowed it down, and then she gave birth at like 37 weeks.
I love that.
So-
What's your guessing weight? Let's make this a game. What do you think the baby's gonna weigh? We'll have Jacob and Jake also guess what their thoughts on the baby
If
weight.
she is
When she's
able
out.
to go full term, so if she goes to 40 weeks, I think when she comes out, she's going to be just shy of 10.
Okay.
If she gets pulled out early, I have no idea. So my guess is just shy of 10.
Just shy. So give me a 9 point what?
Like 9 pounds, 14 and a half ounces.
Oh, okay. And 16 ounces make a pound, just in case people don't.
If
know
you were
that.
curious about that, 40 weeks in a
Yeah, yeah,
pregnancy,
just wanna let you guys
16
know.
ounces in a pound.
Make a pound. Okay. Just in case you're like, oh, in 24 ounces, that's not how it works. You know what I mean? You go. So just wanted to make sure nobody sounded silly before we got
Like
into
that
that.
kid's like, I'm 5'12". It's
Right.
like,
Yeah,
oh, so
exactly.
You're
No,
6 foot.
6 foot, my friend. Okay.
Yeah.
Jake Mathis. What's your guess?
If I may ask, how heavy were you?
I was
No?
a 10-pound baby.
Okay.
Oh, gosh.
So that's gonna go partly into my mathematical
We are having a girl.
guess. Oh, okay.
Oh.
That
So you know.
that changes it. I'm gonna go 9 pounds 4.5 ounces.
Okay.
4.5.
I like that.
4.5. Okay.
I was gonna say 9.8 just anyway before anything, so I'm sticking with my 9.8.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to go up. I'll go 10-2.
10
pounds, 2 ounces.
Dang.
Just a big old thing
Hopefully
coming out.
Hannah doesn't hear this.
Okay.
She's not going to be pumped.
Well, it's just her
No,
baby's
you want
big.
to
It's
have like
fine.
a 7-pound baby.
Yeah.
That's the size
Yeah.
baby you want to
Well,
have.
if it's a CC, it's just flying out of there regardless,
For sure.
right? It doesn't matter.
For sure. Yeah, you don't have to worry about
Right. 'cause-
junior hires are listening.
yeah. Anyways, childbirth. Love it.
Excited.
So now we're going to get into our next topic. And if you don't know the general flow, what's happening, we have a lighter topic, silly topic, and then we go into a little bit more of getting to know either Mike and myself. Obviously, this time we'll be talking about our guest, or we get into deeper discussions, depression, and other things like that we've talked about. So today, for our lighter conversation, I've asked our guest to come up with 3 of their top favorite childhood type movies, not necessarily cartoons, but movies that they like to watch as a child. So who wants to go first? Do we have it? Let's go Mathis.
Okay, yeah,
He
I'll
pointed at you.
start off. My number one movie series of all time, and like even as a small child, I was a Star Wars fan. Like that, some of my earliest memories was me watching Star Wars, like
Yeah.
with my neighbor and with my parents and stuff like that. So, Star Wars has always been my life, and like
I love that.
I have several lightsabers just chilling in my room right now.
Come on. He's got a shirt on that represents Star Wars right now.
I do.
That is
Just
true.
so you're aware.
I did that on purpose, actually.
Very on brand.
Praise
I
God.
did it. Actually, I need to really do laundry. I'm running real low. I normally only sleep in this shirt. It's a little big on me, but I'm really bad at laundry.
Question. Wait, before we get into that, question for you: washing your clothes. Do you wear your underwear more than once, or do you wear it twice? Do you do the inside out, so your caca stains are on the outside, so they're not touching your butt anymore?
Well, I like to think of myself as being pretty clean.
Okay.
So
One and done.
no. I'll probably do like 2 days sometimes, depending on, or if I'm staying night at somewhere. Sometimes
Right.
I like to pack
Oh,
small,
you're
so I'll
wonk.
just pack one pair.
I feel you.
So like sometimes, yeah, just 2 days max, probably.
Okay.
Maybe 3, depending on where I am.
Do
Yeah.
you smell test it before you put it on the second time?
I'm not a big smelly person though normally, so I think I'm normally pretty good.
Okay. So you're.
So
good-
you don't
you're-
smell. So you could be walking around with poop smell on your butt without knowing.
No, he just said.
No, like I'm normally pretty
Not
clean.
saying
Like
gotcha,
I'm,
that makes
No.
sense.
He
That
didn't
makes sense.
explain which part of the smelly.
Okay,
Yeah, my bad.
That makes sense. You're good.
My number 2 movie would have been Tremors, the Kevin Bacon movie.
Oh my gosh, Sabrina loves Tremors. Keep
They're
going.
my favorite. Like they're so
Stop.
good. Like top 5 movies of all time.
Mike's
Love
like,
them.
what?
Kevin
Bro,
Bacon's first
2
big
and
hit.
3 are
Never even heard of it.
butt blasters. That's not the official name.
Yeah.
But butt blasters.
Yes.
Let's
You've
go.
never heard of Tremors?
Nope.
Oh well.
See, told you.
It'll
let's
it'll
get
make
it
you
up.
it'll make you a little timid to walk around for a
Oh.
little while.
all the time. I wouldn't leave concrete. So we could bring it up next time I'm here. We should just watch it.
Yes.
And then my third favorite was that one Rugrats movie where they went to Paris.
Oh my god.
It's really good.
I don't
The
even-
VCH tape came in orange.
Orange.
It was really cool.
I remember that.
I have
specifically.
2 honorable mentions. Ratatouille, because Ratatouille is incredible.
Love that. Great
And then
chef.
Kung Fu Panda, because I saw it probably 5 times in theaters.
In theaters, all
Yeah.
5 times in theaters.
Yeah.
You paid every time, or you sneak in?
Well, I was
Yeah.
like 4, so my parents or
Gotcha.
my grandparents
Gotcha.
paid for it, but yes.
Gotcha.
Oh, you probably did one of those combo deals where your parents
Yeah.
went, grandparents
Gotcha.
went.
That makes
and
sense.
Aunt and uncle.
That
I
makes
was probably
sense.
like 11, actually. How old was I? When did it come out?
I have no idea. We don't have any computers to do research like that, so you got to do it yourself. So type it up on your iPhone to get that research
Real
going.
quick.
Yeah. There's no like Jeffrey standing on standby.
It came out the day after my birthday in 2008, so that's roughly 12 years ago. So I was roughly 11-ish.
Roughly.
Yeah, so I was 11. Yeah, I
Okay.
enjoyed it.
I love that. Ratatouille is one of the best like chef movies I've ever
Oh,
seen.
it's so good.
So realistic.
It's one of the best rat movies too.
See, combo.
How
Yeah.
many chef movies have you seen?
At least 3.
At least
What are the
Ratatouille.
others?
Do they make chef
I can
movies?
think of one other one that's really good.
The movie Chef,
Okay.
or yeah, the movie Chef, with oh golly jeez, what's that dude? I'm not gonna remember his name, so I'm gonna stop pretending like I'll get there. And then there's got to be another one somewhere. I can't think of the other one.
There's got to be one
What's the
more.
one you're thinking?
Well, okay, so Julie and Julia,
Oh yeah, Julia Child.
if you
yep.
count that, that's
I think so.
really like that one.
Yeah.
And now I can't think of the other one I was thinking of.
Let's see, Ratatouille and
There
the
has to
Chef
be like a
movie.
Gordon
There's
Ramsay
3.
movie.
Gordon Ramsay?
Dude, I'd watch a movie about him.
Oh, I don't like him. I find him very annoying.
Like
And-
Hell's Kitchen annoys you?
Absurd. Yeah, he's just very dramatic, like very mad
He's
all
the
the
best.
time.
Well, he
He's
gets paid money to
yelling.
do that.
I know.
I think
that's why
it's,
I don't
it's
like
for the
it.
show.
So
That's
for
what
the
I'm
show.
saying. It's for the show. It's not like I don't know. I just
Do you hype
I'm
yourself
curious
up when you're on camera?
Yeah, but not to a point where I'm like faking a persona or like going into a persona where I'm always have to be angry and mad.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I mean?
you go into a persona of probably being happy most of the time. Like,
Right. Well, he's created a character. That's
Okay.
he's almost like a character now at this point.
I gotcha.
Anyways,
What's that other chef movie, quote unquote?
Yeah.
Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off.
I've never seen that.
Oh, okay,
Eddie's
well.
$1 Million Cook-Off.
He's a kid who's super good at baseball, and he discovers that he really likes cooking. And his baseball team has a championship, but he also has a cooking championship at the same time.
Great
so he has to
movie.
choose
Drama.
one.
All about that.
And the
Great
baseball
movie.
team gets really upset that he's like ditching practice and stuff to go cook.
I love
but
that.
then in the end, they all show up to the cooking championship to watch him win. It's great.
I love that. That's so good.
I've heard of like none of these movies.
No, that's a great movie.
Dude,
I,
that's what I'm saying.
Disney,
proud
it's
about
all
that.
Disney movie.
That's why we're gonna ask him his favorite. He's gonna say Four Brothers and then be done.
Hey,
Mark Wahlberg.
That is a good
Throw in the
Andre
brick.
3000, baby. Let's
It's
go.
a
And
good-
Tyrese.
3000.
It's a good movie.
Yeah,
I share a
Tyrese
birthday with
Gibson?
Marky Mark.
Is that
Yeah.
his last name?
Yep.
And then that other white dude. I don't remember
Garrett
his name.
Hedlund. Come on.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't
what
know
I'm here
that.
for.
Four Brothers. Love it. All right, Baumer. Let's hear it, dude.
So honorable mention is going to go to Homeward Bound. Because I just watched it recently because it's on
So
Disney Plus.
good.
I cried. As a 34-year-old man, I cried watching that movie
Yeah.
because it reminded me of watching it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm a sucker for like animals.
Yep.
And I also tweeted while I was watching it, this is probably why I'm a cat person, because I
Yeah.
love Sassy in that
Sassy.
movie so much.
Great character.
So Homeward Bound and Free Willy those are my
Willy,
two
double up.
honorable mentions because orcas.
You love a good animal flick.
I'm the biggest killer whale fan. I love killer whales. So those two, and there were 3 Free Willy movies, and I felt like I could connect with the kid. I was all about. It was great. The second one has like an oil spill. It's crazy. So those are the honorable mention. I'm gonna go backwards. So 3
Oh, okay.
is I wrote it down too because I knew I was gonna forget. What was 3?
Oh no.
This is
dude.
bad. This
Haven't
is bad
heard either of
radio.
those movies so far.
You haven't
haven't
heard
heard
of
of
Free
Free
Willy?
Nope.
Or Homeward Bound.
Nope.
Yikes.
I also you know, it happens all the time. I'll watch a movie I'm like, oh, I've probably seen this before, but I won't notice until like 3/4 of the way in. My memory on movies is not good. Dude, I'm telling you,
But
it's
like,
bad.
I like that existence because you can watch them over and over again.
It
You're
is
like, I
good.
remember- that's-
There's been
I mean,
like multiple times I've been watching a movie and yeah,
That's
realize I've
nuts.
seen it before.
But no
after it's
Free
over.
Willy.
Not even
Or-
Free Willy. You've never even heard of it.
Nope.
and I'm pretty sure Free Willy took place in Washington.
Who knows?
I can't. We got to. Mathis, can you look for it? You have a
Fact
So
check.
anyway.
You have
He's our fact check.
I am the worst person to be a fat checker.
fact checker. People come in. He's got to check how fat they are. All right, you're good. like at church,
All right,
he's checking. Okay, keep
so
it.
number 3 is going to be Mighty Ducks.
Oh, classic.
So just
Dang,
as a
that's good.
series too, because for me, 1 and 2 are equal, and 3 is a notch below. Everyone hates on 3.
Yeah, I don't care
But
for
for
it.
me, that was like a huge like when Charlie kisses the girl in 3. That was a like, oh man, that's a thing.
Right.
Like for me,
Right.
that was a
You
big
can
like
kiss girls.
grow up moment
Yeah,
of
yeah.
like, oh, my childhood's over because Charlie kissed a girl.
I love that.
Like that was very resonant. So, but number 2, when they're at the Olympic team
That's
and
a classic.
Knuckle Puck, like let's go. And yeah, so as a franchise, those 3.
Okay.
Number 2 is going to be Land Before Time.
Dude, that's why. Yeah. Okay, keep going.
It's I cannot tell you how many times it came up. Mike doesn't laugh.
You're stupid. You're stupid.
I also love that movie. I forgot about that one.
I'm not a movie person. I told you this.
They made the
Not my topic.
star tree leaves, dude. They were fire.
stars.
Tree stars. I wanted to take a bite out of them.
Man,
Keep going. You're
Sharp Tooth.
You're nuts.
When they come together and take out the T-Rex,
Yeah.
oh, it's so,
So
You're just
good.
spoiling
great.
every
And
movie that I
it
should
ends,
watch.
If you haven't watched them by this point, you're not gonna watch them.
and
Yeah,
the Diana Ross song. If the Diana
Yeah.
Ross song comes on at any point, like I'm done.
yeah.
Over.
Do you like the series as a whole, or their
No,
specific
God,
ones?
I just because they went
yeah,
into like
they went
15
crazy.
movies. Give me a
Yeah,
break.
they went way
The first
too far.
one is
Way
all
too
you
far.
need.
Okay.
And then number 1, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, really? That's
Oh,
your number
I'm-
one.
Here's the thing.
Oh.
I don't know how many people I've told this to. So you know how when you like talk to yourself, when you're like having an internal dialogue,
Yeah. Mhm.
and so like you'll say something and then the
Yeah.
voice says something back, but
Yeah,
it's you
yeah.
just talking. So from the time I was little, I don't know when it started,
Oh gosh.
the internal dialogue was me talking, and the response was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Praise God.
I love that.
Whether it was all 4 of them at once or
Yeah.
whether it was each of them with their own personality responding, like
Yeah.
that's like I envision my internal dialogue is with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Isn't
So-
that like schizophrenia? or
Probably.
something like that?
Probably. Yeah. Just
That's
like
called. I know
Jello.
that's called something. Let me.
But like I feel like I could relate to all 4,
Right.
Because like I've grown into being a really good leader,
Yeah.
and so Leonardo.
Yeah.
And I was pretty smart growing up as a kid. I was usually near the top of my class with Donatello. I just love how goofy Michelangelo is. I don't know if I'd call myself goofy.
Yeah.
And like Raphael will be like kind of an angry loner, and I'll
Right.
be doing that. I was like
I
that
feel that.
sometimes too as a kid. So
Dang.
like I could just
Got all
resonate
of
with all
that.
of them. I own every full length Ninja Turtles movie.
That's
the 3
amazing.
originals,
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah,
even
yeah.
the Go Back in Time,
Yeah.
the animated,
Okay.
the one that came out, the 2 like redone ones that came out.
Right. How do you feel about the newest one? Didn't it have Megan Fox in it?
Yeah, so those are
Right?
the 2
Yeah, okay,
newer ones.
okay.
For it.
You're for it.
Like
All for it.
because it's like watching the Transformers
is what it
movies.
is.
Like you go in knowing, like if you go in expecting a cinematic
Right,
masterpiece,
masterpiece.
then you're an idiot.
You're a dang
You have to
fool.
go in expecting animated turtles that
Yeah.
are acting like teenagers doing ninja stunts, and that's exactly what you get. So
I love that.
I'm all about it.
That's so good. I think you picked two movies, childhood movies, that definitely had the best looking food. Their pizza always looks so good.
New York
dude.
pizza. I mean, what are
Gooey
you gonna do?
cheese
Yeah.
just flopping all over the place. And then the Star Trees, dude. They look,
Tree
Or
stars.
tree stars. Why do I keep saying it wrong?
don't know, but-
tree stars. They look
Yeah.
tasty, dude.
They
It was
do.
just a green leaf, but they looked like I wanted to take a bite out of it.
Free Willy does in fact take place in Seattle, and
Dude,
I've
was
been there.
filmed in Oregon. but-
Oh my gosh, bro!
Just not a movie guy.
heard. But that's
I honestly thought it was
like,
gonna
did
be
your
like San
parents
Diego.
never let you watch movies? Like,
No, I
don't
just
understand.
didn't watch them. I just didn't do it.
But like as a
But
child,
like people are still aware of Free Willy.
Yeah.
Like just to be aware.
Dude, I got no
Not
idea.
even- You
I don't
never
know what
heard
it is.
anybody say Free Willy? Or
I mean, I've
people have
heard
said
that
that, and you'd be
before.
like, "What's that reference?"
Yeah, and I never looked it up.
Oh, I'm done, dude. I'm done.
I do that all the time.
I'm
That's
literally
mostly
done with
because I'm not smart enough to know the words they're using. I'm just like, nah, I'm not gonna look it up.
I feel
no,
that.
thanks.
Wow.
I feel good.
Wow, I feel that.
you guys are connecting on a different level to
I'm
that.
just like, you know what? I don't need to know that.
oh my goodness.
So
Made it this
is
far.
this whole day going to be me interpreting Jake and you interpreting Mike?
I guess so at this
Could be
point.
it,
That's
honestly.
what it seems like. Okay, so I'll go my top three, and then Mike will say his one that we already know. 'Cause I mentioned it a couple times. My top three, I can't remember. It was going to be Land Before Time was my number three. Honorable mention, I don't know why I'm doing it this way. It's got to be Aristocats.
Oh,
Love that. Great
great
flick.
movie.
They made that cracker and the milk look so good. Love that. Don't want that combo ever in my life, but Just a regular plain old white cracker with milk, with a little thing of sauce or milk. You've seen that? Any of those?
Nope, haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
I haven't even seen Aristocats, but I also
Really?
haven't seen Ratatouille or Kung Fu Panda all the way through. So
Oh well, yeah. There's your issues.
I also
Okay.
fall asleep in movies a lot, I've realized.
Is that what it is?
all the time.
You're just in a deep slumber.
Deep slumber. Hannah and I went out to watch a movie a couple months ago. Well, a couple months before COVID happened.
Right.
I fell asleep 15 minutes in, slept the whole movie. She kept hitting me to wake up. I'm like, nah, this is comfortable.
Oh, I love that. Number 2 for me would be, and this is like, I noticed I was a little bit older at this point, but Hot Rod. I can watch that movie like 1,000 times over. And then my top one's got to be Sandlot, dude.
It's your favorite.
Yeah, dude. It was a
Sandlot,
classic film. It just like makes you feel good. Like that 4th of July scene, like will always like be like the perfect 4th of July moment. They're running around down the street.
Okay.
And they're grabbing a hot dog and they're going to go play baseball. And they just hit bombs, dude. Dingers as the
Dingers,
fireworks
bro.
are going off,
Come on.
dude. And the fireworks are lighting up the sky. And I forgot what song's in the background, but it just is a sweet, sweet moment. And I could always think about that. They become friends with Hercules, you know.
Yep.
I wouldn't say the series. The series is trash outside of the first one. But the first one's super good because, it's tasty.
Love that.
Absolutely. So,
Love that for you.
Mike, go ahead and tell us.
As previously mentioned by you, my favorite movie of all time is Four Brothers. If you haven't seen it, you probably shouldn't go watch it if you're a student. Watch that probably at 11 years old. I've seen it quite a few times in my life. Couldn't tell you much about it. There's a lot of guns.
I was gonna say, can you?
no plot.
I'm interested in your analysis. Of
No, I don't
why
remember.
You like it.
I don't
no
remember
plot.
a lot of things. I just love the camaraderie between the brothers.
Right.
You know what I mean? I like them coming together at the end.
Yep, very sweet.
Towards like a similar goal
The
or whatever.
preface is these 4 brothers are
Yes.
not actually related brothers.
Yes.
They're
That
adopted,
was- they were adopted, yep.
under this woman. The woman
Yep.
is killed in a bad
Yep.
thing in a convenience store.
Yep.
So they all come back to do the funeral, but to also find out what happened and wreck
Exactly.
fools.
And to avenge,
Yep.
avenge
Great
the death.
movie. Love it. And movies for me are hard because I'm so far behind in the movie game. I can't just jump in now.
It's
You know what I mean?
very-
Like I'm in this conversation and it's like, okay, well, sick. I'm going to go watch 40 movies now so I can
Right.
be in one No, I'm
Right.
just not going to do that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So-
and that's the thing is like if you were to watch Homeward Bound, it wouldn't be able to put you in that
can't.
mindset because it's like it's seemingly terribly made. But back then, it was like these animals are really talking right now.
But the thing, like watching it, because again, like so
You just
I
watched
can
it
I can like
recently.
it now because I liked it then, so
Right.
the feeling stays the same.
Totally.
But as a kid, right, you're just believing what's being told. As an adult, I'm watching and I'm going, these are the most trained
Yep.
animals I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Like for them to full sprint at each other and hug each other when they reunite, like
Doesn't
what
make
a
sense.
cat and a dog? Why? Who trained them to
Doesn't
do
make
that?
sense.
Yeah.
Who trained Shadow to limp after he fell?
How do they do that?
Who
They
put
actually busted his leg.
That was
who
what I was
put
gonna say.
porcupine quills in Chance's
Yep.
face
Right.
and he just
porcupine.
walked around with it the rest of
Makeup?
the time?
Yeah, hair and
what is
makeup for
happening?
dogs?
How is this happening? So as an adult watching, it was like, oh my, these animals are the best animals ever.
I love that. So I know somebody. Okay. Oh, this is who it was. Andrew Keller was telling me. Andrew Keller is one of our students. He's going into his junior year at Los Alamitos. That he was, or that his uncle owned. Oh my gosh, Golden Retriever movie, Air Bud. He
The dog?
He owned
The
Air
actual
Bud,
dog?
the actual dog.
No, he
Okay.
Yes, Air Bud himself.
That's insane.
Yeah, isn't that so random?
That is
He
insane.
owned Air Bud.
I've
And
never
I'm like,
watched an Air Bud movie.
dude.
The rest don't even matter that much.
No,
the first
you gotta.
one,
the first one you have
Air
to
Bud
watch.
Like
I
the
know
only thing
how
I've
much
seen
Air
from
Bud
them
is
is like a
compared.
dog like dunking. I'm like, that's not realistic.
Well, it's not supposed to be
Is Star Wars realistic?
Yeah.
Yes, how dare you?
Okay, dude. That's nuts. Literally, it's nuts. Anyways, can't even get into
That is part of the
bullet.
reason why I don't like movies, though, is because they're not realistic. Most of them.
What do you want them to be boring, like
I watch,
everyday
I
lives,
watch
like
comedy
ours?
movies. That's really all I watch.
Comedy movies.
I just-
Okay.
I want
I'm
a good
big comedy
laugh.
fan too.
That's all I
Okay.
like.
You want a good? Who's like your favorite comedic actor? Do you like Will Ferrell?
Not anymore.
Oh.
I used to like him.
Oh, what? Okay, so why did you turn?
He's looking at me because I hate Will
He
Ferrell.
hates Will
You
Ferrell.
hate Will Ferrell?
Which I think is wild.
Well, I liked him in Step Brothers. I thought Step Brothers was a good movie. I haven't seen it in forever.
Okay,
I watch it
yeah,
like once a
yeah.
month.
Probably not a good. You watched it what?
Like once a month.
Once a month. I
Yeah.
love that. You got to go back to it.
It like recreates the funny juices, you know.
Recreates the inside of you,
Yeah.
or
It
okay.
just reminds me of why I need to be funny.
Oh gosh. Okay, love that.
I couldn't even tell you who my favorite actor is or actress.
You're brutal.
I'll watch
sometimes.
whatever, but if it's not funny, I'm falling asleep. If it's funny, I'll start laughing, and I won't remember who was in it or what it's
Or
about.
what it's
I'll
about.
just enjoy the laughs.
Oh my goodness, dude. I love that. So let's go ahead and transition into just getting to know Jake and Jacob a little bit more and their ministries, what they've been doing, and different things like that. So Jake Mathis, let's start with you, since we started with you
All
for
right.
the movie top 3 childhood movies, whatever. So to ask you, how long have you been going to Los Altos Grace?
Well, so we have a school connected to us, so that kind of helps out with this story. Because I started going to kindergarten at that school, and I went up to 2nd grade, and I did the summer camp there for the last 17 to 18 years of my life.
Yeah.
I lose track sometimes just because that's literally been my life.
Right.
But I've been going to the church like on a regular basis for the last 4 years probably,
Yeah.
where it's every week. I used to go pretty often, but not like every single week where I was always there. But ever since like I kind of like grew up in a way
Yeah.
and like became like myself, I've been there almost every week, or every week that I'm not out of town or that like I don't have any other like important things to do pretty much.
Yeah, totally. And then, so how long have you been serving on the high school ministry for?
Like 2 years, almost 2 years.
At least 2 years.
Okay. Well, at least 2 years then.
2 years.
I think after the second camp I came to is when you...
Yeah, I
Because you didn't
approached you.
start the first...
Yeah, I approached you about the first one, but like
Right.
we didn't really know each other, and I was still doing like my classes and stuff, my college career, my short college career. I was doing my classes and stuff, and then when I have more free time, I was like, hey, I'm willing to help out if you want me there.
I love that. And then you went to Los Alamitos.
Yeah, I did.
High school, correct?
I am a Griffin for life, Los
Griffin
Al for life.
I love that.
I have great pride in my high school, in my high school achievements, and how much I enjoyed it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so as you were, growing up in Los Altos Grace, doing those things, you grew up in the youth ministry, correct? Or did you go to the youth ministry? What did that look
Mostly,
like?
I would kind of go half and half between Seacoast and Los Altos, just because like I had a lot of friends that went to Seacoast too, and I also the other school I went to was on the same campus of Seacoast.
Okay.
I went to Grace Christian for 3rd grade through 8th grade,
Okay.
and so like it's just kind of easy if I was at daycare and then I can walk to church afterwards.
Right. That's so
Because it's
sick.
literally in the same parking lot. So I did like half and half there pretty much. I would spend a lot of time at Seacoast, had a lot of good friends there, made a lot of good friends, and a lot of people to look up to as well from there. But
Yeah.
yeah. So I had like a kind of a mixed relation between the two where I would go like week or week out kind of thing, unless it's like 2 weeks sometimes. So like it just depended on
Right.
kind of the circumstance and how I was feeling that day where
Gotcha.
I would go.
Gotcha. And then tell me a little bit about the summer camp that you started going to as a child at Los Altos Grace.
Yeah,
and
so-
like what you guys did, where it's at, all that
Okay.
sort of information.
So yeah, it's called Green Oak Ranch. It's in Vista, California, which is about 30 to 45 minutes out of San Diego. So it's kind of like down there, and then kind of it's really funny because it's like in like the middle of a town, but you can't tell. Like once you go through the gates, you're like in this magical valley that you just can't see the
Yeah,
town unless you
so
go
cool.
hiking. You can go see it. And it's just like we do that sometimes with like the kids. Like they don't even know it's there pretty much. So I started going as young as I can go. I don't even remember what grade that is. Like going into like 1st or 2nd grade.
Wow.
I started going because going into 1st grade, my dad passed away, and so like my mom was trying to find ways for me to keep active and kind of like get a community around me.
Yeah.
And so the church offered to pay like for a majority of like a scholarship for me to go, so I can
So
kind of
cool.
like make friends and stuff a lot easier. So like I started going then, and then I fell in love with it as like a 2nd grader. I was like the only person who like there were like 3 of us who never got homesick the entire time there.
Really?
And now like the 3 of us still go, and like so it's like we're all pretty invested into it, and like the community I have through that camp, like the group of friends that I've made and like bonded with, is like my best friends to this day, and like my best man in my eventual like in the wedding I will have in the foreseeable future.
There
which
you go.
Foreseeable makes it sound like I have a plan, but I don't have a plan. Trust me. But like
I love that.
I have like brothers and sisters for life because of this and
Yeah.
the camp that pretty much has helped shape me into who I am. And without it, I I'd be 100% lost.
That's so cool. So it's basically a camp for elementary school students,
Yeah,
right?
so you go from like 1st or 2nd grade all the way up to going into 7th grade.
7th grade. Okay.
And then you become a assistant for a few years, and then once you are like 18, you become a counselor or staff. So it depends. You can either be working in a cabin alongside kids, and like you're in charge of the kids, which that's what I've been doing for the last like 7 years, which has been a lot. And then either that, or you could be a staff member who works at like the pool or field games or Feller Field, which is this giant. It's really hard to explain what Feller Field is.
Yeah.
It resembles an obstacle course most of the time.
Most of the time,
Oh,
yes.
okay,
But
cool.
it's an obstacle course on like steroids, but not like the slowing down birthing steroids, but like the accelerant Barry Bonds
Like
hitting a home
Wipeout.
run
Jacked
3 times a
A.
game. Yeah.
Okay, sick.
So it's like that. And so there's that, or you could be like archery, or there's crafts and just stuff like
Cool.
that. Yeah.
And then was there like a teaching aspect or
Yeah,
worship
so
aspect?
we have chapel in the morning every day, and then we have campfire every night. And campfire is it's a half and half, where we do a like fun, like we do skits and we do games, and we just go up there and entertain the kids and each other. And then there's like the worship part, where we go into like our singing our worship songs, and we normally do like 15 to 30 minutes of worship depending on the night and how long it's been going. And then we have a message that will last not as long as like it should, because like I would love them to be longer, but the kids can't
Right, they
survive
can't
past
hold-
9:30
totally.
normally.
Yeah,
so.
a first grader, I could not even imagine.
Yeah, so like there's the worship for that, or like there's the pastors will go up and they have a message each day, and then we as counselors have our own Bible studies for the camp, like the campers that we do in our cabin every day. And so like we have a big aspect around community, and like kind of like we have a set theme every year, and we kind of go into that, and we just find different ways to make it our own and kind of like deep dive into it.
Yeah, I love those aspects of like family camps at churches, just because it generates like you were even saying, like a solid community, like within your church. I'm assuming like other adults would put on this program and then also like watch you guys and take care of you guys. And so, those are different generations coming together and being able to solidify like a true community within your church. And so obviously with COVID and everything going on, this is your first year in whatever amount of years, right, that you guys had to stop it?
Yeah, so this is the first time that I personally will be missing it and that's probably been the hardest thing for me. And like the first few days, I kind of like, I got the news and stuff like that. It like really hit me hard. And like, I didn't know what to do with myself. I'm like, that's my summer. Like I already had stuff planned for my cabin, because I start planning in January. I start helping out with the lady who's in charge of it as soon as she's ready to talk about it, pretty much.
Yeah.
So like I'm very heavily involved in those kind of things, and like just like being able to do everything. And so like when I got the news, it really rattled me. Like I just sat there for a bit, kind of just thinking, and like I didn't want to tell anyone. I didn't want to like talk about it or anything like that. Like my mom got home one day from work, and she like saw me just sitting in the front room, which I don't sit in the front room. Like, why would I do that? I have a nice room. So like I was sitting in the front room. She's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Read that letter right there." And then she read it, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I understand." But like ultimately I understand, and say even the next few weeks or months get better, and like we could have the opportunity to do it, we don't have enough time to plan. We don't have enough time to get everything ready. So like it hurts that we're not there, but at the same time, I would rather everyone be safe, and I would rather everyone kind of just be ready for the next year, because I feel like it's going to be a big change not going this year, but ultimately it's for the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
So
sucks.
I want to ask you a question in regards to like, what are your favorite like God moments at this camp? But if you can't think of any off the top of your dome, maybe we'll move on to Jacob Baumer. But I wanted to say like the sense of consistency that you have brought to like that camp, your church in general, is something that goes without people saying thank you a lot. Like I know, youth ministry, like I served on youth ministry staff for 5 years, and I can, it feels like I can go like 4 years without a kid saying thank you, or like even staff people. So like, thank you for that. Like obviously I'm not a part of Los Santos Grace community, but like your consistency being there and just your leadership qualities there has brought something that I think people don't even know, like can't even talk about tangibly, but that's something that you've brought to the table.
That's so cool.
And something that you've brought other people into and sharing with other people the thing that you loved and cared about the most, like growing up. So thank you for that. And
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, no worries, man. And so go ahead and like think about, marinate with that question. Really think about it, and then we'll move on to a good old Jacob Baumer on the other side of the couch for you.
Yeah, I definitely have instantly two or
you already
three thoughts. Yeah.
Love it. Go.
So,
You'll have to wait.
Let's hear it. No, yeah.
instantly,
Sorry, Baumer, shut up.
I'll just go take a hot walk or something.
Yeah. Well, no,
I'm
I'll
gonna
make
go take
it
a hot
short.
walk.
Wait,
So-
hold on.
I don't know.
What is a hot, as opposed to a cool walk?
I was gonna say hike, so I didn't quite. I got to hot. And
We're
then
in
I
a
stopped
very
and said
flat
walk.
area of Long Beach.
Quick question.
So flat.
What is a hike walk then? Let me go take a hike walk.
I was gonna say I'm gonna go take a hike,
Hike.
Oh.
and then in the middle of saying hike, I was like, no, I'm gonna take a walk because I don't go on hikes, but I don't go
So
on walks
it's
either.
now
So the whole comment was just useless.
Hot
That's
walk.
so good. I need to take a hot walk. I'm going to say that all the time now. Someone's annoying me. I got to go take a hot walk. Maybe that's what it is. It's like you're heated.
Yeah, it's a hot walk.
You got to go cool off, but you call it a hot
That
walk.
was my undertone. Was like I'm actually really annoyed right now, so
Right.
I'm gonna go like cool off.
Love
by
that.
taking a hot walk.
See? There you go. Okay, maybe we just invented something. Anyways, let's hear some of your favorite stories about camp.
Yeah. So the immediate thought of every week at the end of the week we have this worship time that we do a small hike up to a cross, which apparently Jacob doesn't like. We do a small hike up to this cross. And
He's mad the
What
whole
a good
time.
rip. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
And it's the
That was
most
good.
intimate worship I've ever experienced, and I've cried every single year. And like that's the one place where I feel 100% like the closest to God I'll ever feel in a way, unless
Yeah.
I'm literally standing next to him. So it's like that's the closest I ever feel. Like I cry, I like hug tightly, like more people than I ever do, pretty much. Or
Yeah.
it's like that's the most emotional because it's like pure emotion and like singing at the top of my lungs. And I am not a good singer. Like I'll be the first to say, like I know I'm not, but like when it comes to worshiping God and stuff like that, I'm gonna be singing my lungs out up there. Like that's something that He deserves. So like immediately that's just my main place of like pure worship in a way.
Cool.
Yeah.
And like I really feel every year that I look back on my year when I'm up there too, where it's like thinking of how I've grown or how I've decreased, which like it's hard to say that you've like kind of like not walked the right path, but that's
Sure.
the place that kind of makes me realize like, hey, this year wasn't a good year. Like what can you do to do better kind of thing.
Right.
And then another one, it's not really a place or it's not really like a memory. It's more of a person. Like my counselor throughout the years is this guy named Mike Stone, who's this big, beefy cop. He's a great guy.
Wait. Does he have two sons? How old is he?
No.
Oh, okay,
Wait, he has
sorry.
a son and a daughter.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, so-
oh my gosh.
He's a cop for Signal Hill, which is right here.
Okay. I had a buddy who's a detective. His dad was a cop when we were kids. So his
No.
his name was Dylan Stone.
Yeah, he's
and he
like
had okay.
around your age, probably.
Never mind.
A few years older than me.
Oh, okay. I thought he was like a
He was my
adult.
counselor, so he's like a few years older than me.
Gotcha. Sorry, I was getting pumped up. Sorry.
He was like a big brother to me and my friends and stuff like that, where he was literally our mentor for the longest time. Like he was the main way I learned about God forever, pretty much, until I started like regularly going to church and stuff like that. It's like he's a big staple of who I am, and like I have so much love and respect for him, and it's so he's like a big part of like camp to me, and so it's really cool. And
Yeah.
now he has kids that they're not old enough to go to camp yet, but they eventually will be, and it's really cool.
That's so rad. I feel like when I was just thinking about the worship session, that feels like a very Joshua, the stones like in the river,
Yeah.
to like remember what God did like throughout this time,
Yeah.
and a time of like going back and reflecting on how good
Yeah.
God has been, or where you have walked or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Always can
Yeah.
go back and see God's faithfulness throughout that week. That's
Yeah.
what that kind of reminded me. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
I think that's so cool that you get to go back to that place, because I feel like a lot of people have like those camp experiences that they've had that like that was like a turning point in my walk with the Lord, but like they don't ever really go back to that place, you know, and the fact that you get to go back and spend time there and be reminded and reflect every single year on how your year went or whatever. That's just so cool. I'm jealous. I'm jelly.
It's jelly. Yeah, I would say I'm peanut butter-y. So stupid.
I'm gonna go take a hot
That
walk.
was a stupid, yeah, that was. If we all go took a hot walk, I would understand. That was so stupid. Wow, I can't even. How do I even
Crunchy
segue
or
into
creamy?
this? Obviously crunchy.
Oh man,
Creamy?
Yes.
Oh, you are 3 against 1, buddy.
Dude, crunchy. It offers texture.
Well, I
Yeah,
definitely
but
will
when you
have it
spread
every
on the
once in
bread,
a while.
What happens to the bread? just
breaks.
rips the bread apart.
Yeah.
Be better at spreading. I don't know what to tell
I
you.
am
I'll have it every once in a while, but I'm not like I want crunchy every time. That's
No,
psychotic.
dude, it's so good.
Nah, man.
No, because you get the same.
No.
You
You're wrong.
expect-
You're wrong.
You expect the soft embrace of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I
You
don't
want
want
your
that.
I
top
just
of
had a
your mouth-
PB&J for lunch.
You don't want the top of
No
your mouth to
crunchy.
be stabbed by a small peanut.
It's not stabbed, you little baby mouth boy.
I'm sorry, I have a soft palate.
Why don't you get some calluses up there on the roof of your tongue, you little softy?
You want a callus?
Not callus,
What do you mean a
but
callus?
if my man's up here
Go
thin
take a hot
skin,
walk.
if he's thin skin up there, dude, get over yourself.
skin up
Eat
there?
some Captain Crunch and get over yourself. You know what I mean? Builds up an immunity towards something crunchy. You know what I'm saying?
I'm done with you.
Can I just point out that I love that everyone can instantly connect with the idea of what Captain Crunch does to your mouth.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like that
It
is the
tears it
one
up.
universal thing that everyone says, yep, that's a thing.
It's such a good pain, though. You know what I mean? Like such a good pain.
It's so good though.
I'll accept it.
love
I'll eat,
so
I'll eat
much.
bowl after bowl, and my mouth will be bloody. Never. That's not actually happened. But.
Wait. You blip?
It's never actually bled.
there blood in
from
my
Captain
milk?
Crunch. Oh, ew, that's gross. Anyways, no, crunchy for sure. It offers texture. It's
You're
just
wrong.
better that way.
It's not.
Going to
better.
Jacob Baumer. So you were sharing. We were playing Fortnite. I think it was last week, just you and I. And I get distracted in Fortnite. We're having like deeper conversations. I can't talk.
We're terrible anyway, so it's fine.
I'm so bad, but I can't talk and play. Like I don't know how streaming people do it because I'm awful at it.
Yeah, you're terrible to play with because you don't talk. It's
That's what
annoying.
I'm saying.
And I'm
am
like
annoying.
trash. I'm like I'm dead. I need to talk to
That's
somebody.
the best.
I know.
Jacob is the most talkative person you will be with ever. But if you're in a game,
I don't
there's
want to talk.
nothing.
I know.
There's
It's weird.
nothing.
It's so weird.
Jacob, are you okay?
I don't like it, but that just is the reality.
You don't like that's a part of
I
yourself?
don't like that's a part of me. You know what I mean? But I deal with it on a daily basis. Anyways, so going into that conversation that we're having, you work with the youth currently with the high school ministry over at Los Altos Grace. You're the high school and junior high leader.
Yep.
And I just, you were sharing with some of the stories that you have like these random connections with these people out in Vermont, Iowa. There might be another one that I'm forgetting, but that's fine. Alabama? Is it an Alabama
from
kid?
Vermont is
He
from
wants.
Alabama.
Yeah, that's what it is. So share with our viewers or the listeners some of those stories of you being able to connect with random kids all over the country. Tell us how you got into those conversations, all that jazz.
So I'm going to preface this by saying most people have probably had some kind of encounter where some random person has come up and said something nice to you, whether it was somebody who was okay, well, maybe not. In being somebody who's been a few places and like been able to speak or share or whatever, it's like cool to have somebody random come up and be like, thank you so much for that, that kind of thing. Like to be an encouragement to hear, like if that's the only interaction you ever have with that person, for them to come up and say, thank you for being here, or that was really cool, whatever. Yeah. So that kind of thing, that is what, as I entered into these conversations and eventually relationships, that is the mindset behind it, is like every single one of us can use some kind of word of encouragement at any point. And so for these particular ones, like that's literally all that I did at the start. Like that was my goal at the start. And if conversations continued after that, then so be it. The way the Vermont one started though is like really funny because so I am an Ultimate Frisbee player. I've been playing for 13 years now, professionally on and off for about 6. And I woke up one Saturday morning a little grumpy, and Sports Center had posted an Ultimate Frisbee highlight. Now and this is three years ago. So
and
up to that
you're
point,
hyped on that, right? Because they don't post
it's
that much.
awesome. Yeah. In the last 3 years, there have been a lot more.
Okay.
But previous to that, it would come up maybe once every other year or something. Like we would get a highlight in a top 10 or whatever. Like it was a big deal.
Right.
But every time it happened, people would just hate on it. People would just be like, not a sport. My dog can do that. I can do that at the beach. This isn't a sport. Like obviously the people are not watching the actual play out because these are insane athletes who are flying through the air to make insane catches. It's actually really hard to throw a Frisbee 80 yards on a line and be able to do that. People don't understand. So being able to do that stuff is really cool. So we celebrate it. But there's a lot of hate for it. So I woke up, was reading all the hate, and I was grumpy. So I was just replying to multiple people like, you don't know what you're talking about. Have you ever tried to play? I was trying to be positive with some of them. Like one of them was this dude who played lacrosse because I was mad. So I looked up his bio and I was like, bro, I love lacrosse. Lacrosse is awesome. Like, and I know a lot of people don't play and don't give it credit. Like that's all I'm trying to do with Ultimate. Like just give it a chance. He didn't respond. But this other comment in particular said, essentially, what a waste of space. And I was like, that's just rude.
Yeah.
That's
Just like in general life.
Yeah.
Not even related to the sport.
like nothing else, just what a waste of space. I was like, what? This is ridiculous. So I click on this person's comment or on this person's profile, and the picture comes up, and it's like a dad and his kid in the picture. So I'm assuming it's the dad in the picture. And in the bio is a Bible quote that says something about love, something, it's, I don't remember exactly which one, but, a pretty common
Something.
Bible verse of like, love the people around you.
Right.
Yeah.
So I send a DM and I quote the Bible verse and I say, really, was this comment really super loving in that situation?
I love that. I love that. It's so funny. Anyway,
And when you do that, you're expecting
Right.
pushback. I'm
sure.
expecting hard pushback.
Just quoted the one in your profile, though, just so you're aware.
right.
Yeah. And the response I got was, you know what? You're right. That wasn't, I'm sorry.
Dang.
I was like, what?
What?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I love that.
So I was like, well, what made you say that? And he's like, well, me and my friends at school, like we like to go play baseball during the recess or whatever. And sometimes there's just dudes out there just throwing a Frisbee around. And it's like, we just want to play baseball and you're just in the way. I was like, all right, I totally get that. I grew up playing baseball. I'd have been not happy if some nerds throwing a Frisbee around were in my way.
So it's the
baseball.
kid, not the dad.
So it's the kid.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, come to find out, this kid, this is like during the summer before he goes into 7th grade or 8th grade, I forget. I think going into 8th grade. And so so then we just kind of start to have a conversation. He's currently living in Vermont, but his thing was like Alabama kid or something, like Bama kid something. And so his family is from Alabama, and they moved to Vermont because his parents just felt called to go to Vermont and start a church.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's why they picked up and moved to Vermont.
Little
to go.
Vermont. Little guy.
So
That's wild.
yeah. So I was like, wow, that's crazy. So I kind of started talking to him about the faith aspect, but I'm not expecting a lot. Like, I understand that I'm a stranger on the complete other side of the country.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you're like a 12, 13-year-old kid. Like, I'm not trying to get too in depth, but just having like a conversation like that. And he's a huge football fan. Like, he wants to play football for the University of Alabama.
Yeah.
This kid, like, as we continue to stay in communication, he wakes up every day at 5:30 to work out for an hour before he goes to school. Every day, even during the summer, that kid will wake up in the morning and put in work, like
Get
weight
after
room.
it.
He has like a weight room. He has a weight set up in his room or whatever. Even they just went on a vacation a few months ago, and he was in the hotel weight room in the morning, like doing weights and stuff. I was like, yeah. So anyway, so we would just like connect semi-regularly, and eventually like I would check up on him and ask about how church was going, and they had kind of like just a house church, and I'd ask him about what he was reading and these kind of things. And it eventually got to where we were just having really good conversations about life, really good conversations about faith. And it built up to a point where he was going to be, when he was growing up, he was going to a camp in Alabama as a kid, and he had the opportunity to go to the same camp as a leader. So he was filling out an application to be a leader, and you need references and stuff. And he asked me to be the spiritual reference on his application.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
That
Isn't
is
wild?
so sick.
I know.
And at this point, I was like, okay, you're filling out like this official thing. Do your parents know who I am? Are your parents like aware that you talk to me? Like, are they okay with
Right.
putting me on this application? And he was like, oh yeah, my dad thinks it's hilarious how we met. So, okay. So, and so like that continues to this day. Like, I have snap streaks with him. So I talk to him basically every day. Like, he's working hard right now. He just got his license yesterday. He's getting a truck on Saturday. Like, he's super stoked about life. And
That's crazy.
I get to share in it, even though we have never been in the same place at the same time. We like, it's become a really, really cool relationship.
Wild.
Yeah.
And then he was gonna send you out, or you were gonna go visit him, right? at
I
some
was,
point?
yeah. So this past September, because like he's playing football, he's playing high school football. He was on his varsity team this year as a sophomore, I believe as a sophomore. And so I was gonna go fly out and watch one of his games and like hang out, whatever.
Right.
And through a sequence of events that didn't work out, he kind of got sick, and so it just didn't work out timing wise. But the plan is eventually to go out and like watch him play and hang out and meet the
So
family and stuff.
sick.
Isn't that
Yeah.
so cool? And then he asked me, well, go
I'm
ahead
like
and
mind
share,
blown by
share
that
with
story.
your other story.
Like, it's that,
But
not
he had the
real.
audacity to ask me, not the audacity, that's so dramatic. But he asked me, he was like, have you ever connected with a student like that? And I was like, no, absolutely not. Like, I've never hit anybody up. we'll talk about like what a cool gifting that is at the end.
For
but then
sure.
share your other story that you had.
So then there's this kid in Iowa. So I'm a huge sports fan. I'm a huge fan of the NCAA tournament for basketball. I literally the last 4 years, like even while I was teaching full time, I would take the Thursday and Friday in March off and say, I'm out. I'm watching basketball all day.
Yeah.
Like these are the only 2 days I'm taking off to watch basketball. So I do that. So 1 year, and this is now 3 years ago, I think also, I'm watching and Iowa's in the tournament. And they always do like little mini profiles of the coach and stuff, just so you're like aware of who you're watching, because they got to provide some kind of content during these games with teams that no one cares about.
Yeah.
Sorry, Iowa. And the head coach's name is Fran McCaffrey. And so they're talking about him. They say he has 4 kids. He has 3 sons and a daughter. The oldest son played, I think he was on the basketball team at the time because he's the older one. And then the next one was this kid, Patrick. And Patrick was also a really good basketball player. He ended up being one of the top like 50 in his class coming out of high school. And they were talking about that he had overcome cancer as a kid. And so like they just kind of briefly told the story of him, struggling with that and what that looked like, and then being able to get past it and still going on and becoming a stellar now Division I basketball player. And so, at the time he was still in high school. So again, I was like, I just wonder if this dude's on Instagram, look him up.
Yeah.
He is. So same kind of thing. Send him a message of like, I heard your story through the tournament. Like, it's incredible where you're at, what you're doing. Like, I'm totally rooting for you in the future, man. Like, do your thing.
Yeah.
And again, not expecting a response. Like, I don't expect anybody to respond to some random dude that's across the country. Like,
For sure.
And he, super like, oh, thank you a lot. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So then I just, start to ask basic questions about basketball, about whatever. And the same kind of thing happened where he would respond like every single time. And I tell this to like students now, like especially if they're students not from my church, like whenever I text any kid, I do not expect a response.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you're a teenager with a life. I'm some 30-year-old dude, like whatever. Like, if you don't respond, I get it. So I'm not going to bug you about it. Like, depending how close we are, like, I'm just, you do you. And they'll always be, oh, sorry, I totally forgot. Like, you have a life. I get it. You're fine. So I'm never expecting any of these people to ever respond every time I message them. But he would just keep answering the questions, and none of them were super deep or anything for a while. It was just, how's basketball going? How was your last game? What does school look like, etc. And just through the course of doing that over 3 years, like, we've become super close now, and we talk pretty regularly. We've talked about the transition into college and what that's looked like, and stuff about like how like girls' situation is and all this kind of stuff, and it's awesome. Like, I will text him like right after games and be like, what's going on? And it's awesome. So
Wow.
yeah.
And I just think that's so cool to see. Number one, your willingness to be okay if somebody doesn't text you back, right? Like, having that mindset, because I think a lot of people put a lot of weight in, like, if they don't respond to me, they don't like me.
For sure.
Leaders do that.
I know I
have
that
done that.
100%.
Yeah. So like, there is like this personal like thing that we do to ourselves to be like, they don't like me, so I'm gonna stop doing it.
To my students, I do get offended when you don't text me.
Right.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
If it's like your specific kids, but like,
No, I'm just kidding.
just in general, it's like, it can be frustrating and it can be really discouraging. So I think number one, having that mindset is super key to be able to have multiple sets of those conversations, and just to even hearing your heart at the very beginning of this, like prefacing how a single word of encouragement can really like help somebody throughout that day, and to see you build off of that relationship, right? Like, it's a single word of encouragement that you don't expect to go anywhere, but you've had these like multiple different sets of people to be able to have these longer connections for years. You said 7th grade, the dude's in his junior year.
He just got his license, so he's at least 16.
Yeah. So like, it's like 5 years, you've been like connected with this kid.
And there's one more too that I didn't tell you about.
Oh, okay.
Ireland.
Wait, hold on. Hold on.
Hot walk. I'm going on a hot walk.
Hot walk. Tell us about
So that one I'll just tell real quick.
Okay.
Because like the one with the kid in Iowa, like that one's not super faith-based.
Right.
I don't push that on them. And this one also, same kind of idea. But my first year playing on the Pro Ultimate team, which was in 2014, 15, during that summer, I got a message on Facebook from this kid, super random, except I didn't see it because on Facebook, if you're not friends with them, it just shows it as a request. You have to like manually go into the request and check.
Right.
So I didn't see it till a year later.
Okay.
And it was just this kid from Ireland saying, "Hey, I play Ultimate in Ireland, and I'm just like wondering like if you had any tips for somebody who's trying to be a pro frisbee player in the future." Like the kid's like 14 or 15 at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I saw it a year later, I was like, I am so sorry that I didn't see this for a year. Like I responded, I was like, this is so awesome that you play. I'm really sorry, like blah, blah, blah. And we started to talk, and same kind of deal. Like me and him have gone back now for 5 years, and to the point where like next May I'm gonna go play a tournament with him in Ireland. Like he invited me to come play a tournament with him. That's another kid. Like he was on our podcast pretty early on too. So just another one of those examples. But as you're talking to, I want to point out, like, I understand, and if like adults are listening, they're like, especially parents, like,
Right.
I don't want some creepy 30-year-old kid just randomly.
Totally.
So like, you should be on guard. Like parents should always be on guard. Parents should be in their kids' DMs, checking all that stuff.
Right.
And so for me, like every single one of those conversations I enter into, every single message I send, I'm expecting a parent to read.
Right.
So like
For sure.
there aren't most people aren't thinking that. I'm thinking that every time I do that.
Yeah.
And so like that sounds very defensive, but like that's the mindset that I have to have going in to make sure that things don't go weird somehow to like the kid. Like even if the kid, whatever the kid responds, like would the parent be okay with what the kid said? And I'll like make sure like the things are going in the right direction that way. So it's like that is a huge point behind it, because parents, adults should be like, I've had multiple parents, like they won't outright say stuff. You can just tell the way they're asking or the way like kids react that like the parent is skeptical. Parents should be skeptical. Parents
100%.
should know who I am before letting their kid like hang out with me. The amount of kids that I have spent significant time with whose parents I don't know is insane. Like parents, what are you doing? Like invite me over for dinner and hang out. What like so just on that side of things, like I don't like I'm not reaching out to every single kid in the world. Like these are just random things that happen, and I input into the conversations too. Like when I do start to ask kind of deeper questions, I always say, if this is too much, well, not even just that, but like if this is too much for you, like you cannot respond. Like I don't expect you to want to have this conversation with me. Like tell me if this is not something you want to talk about. Tell me if this, whether it's faith, whether it's girls, whether it's relationship with parents, whatever that looks like. If this is too personal for you, I get it. We literally don't know each other. Just tell me. So like I try to intentionally have those safeguards just for me. But for the most part, like these conversations have been really awesome, and there are plenty of people who have messaged that nothing has happened. It's like, okay, if you see that one day, great. If not, then we're both gonna live our lives anyway. Who cares?
For sure.
Right. And I think there's an openness with somebody from across the country or something. Like I think there's an openness or like an ability for them to feel okay telling you those things, because you're not immediately going to affect that relationship or be there with the parents. You're not going to.
And that's why I keep my profiles 100% public.
Right.
Like I've never been private on anything. Like I want people to be able to look and see what's going on.
I think that's really cool. And just being able to hear you like wanting to encourage somebody, once again, a random person, random student, like random adult, whatever, and to be able to engage in those conversations, I think is really cool. And like an opportunity for the gospel to be opened up whenever, whether that's in 15 years, that guy from Ireland like finally like talks to you about Jesus or whatever. And then you've always been somebody who's been available, and that shows like, that opportunity to be able to show your light and your acts of like looking more and more like Jesus. I think it opens up that conversation willingly and an opportunity for you to be able to share that, which is just super cool. And that's super encouraging, even once again for me as somebody who doesn't do stuff like that, to be able to reach out and do things like that, or any small group leaders that are listening, or any adults or any students that are even listening and wanting to engage in a conversation with a leader in our ministry or another adult figure, somebody that you can trust and that's somebody that's looking out for your best intentions, like being able to have those conversations, because they can really grow into beautiful relationships later down the road. So that's really cool. Do you want to share anything?
Awesome. No, I'm just blown away.
Yeah.
I'm just blown away by those stories. Like
I know.
I just personally, I've never done that. I've never just reached out to someone like, "Hey man, what's up?"
Right.
And it's just, it's a unique gifting that you have to be able to have those conversations in a way that are positive, life-giving, and like knowing also that parents should be protective,
right?
And being able to allow like you as a Christ follower, even though maybe the people you're talking to, you're not having those conversations, like allowing Christ to work through those things and build those relationships up to be able to share the gospel at some point, and like just see how God would use that. It's just a unique gifting that you have that I don't have, or at least have not tapped into at this point, but don't feel like I have, at least.
Right.
You know,
Which
so it's just so cool.
Yeah, which I think is really great. So now transition. This is our time. This is it. Thank you so much, Jake Mathis and Jacob Baumer, and joining us in the CC podcast, the podcast where you don't know what the CC stands for.
Come on, Wu-Tang name generator,
aka hashtag
the website.
Yeah, go ahead and add some things together, see if you can figure it out for yourselves.
I've tried.
Oh, yeah, not successful. That
No.
Jake, have you noticed that they still haven't mentioned our podcast?
Oh my gosh, we suck.
I forgot all about that. I forgot that we had a blatant attack
I mess with Jacob all the time. We mention Jacob's podcast
so many times.
regularly enough. It's not like we're bragging about it all day, every day.
Yeah.
But
oh my gosh, clearly I'm a trash friend. So I'll just say that. I'll lick my wounds as they leave. I'll cry. I'll lament to God and my forgetfulness and why He's made me this way. But to shout out their podcast, From Bob's Office. Producing great content. I've been on the show twice, and once again haven't mentioned it once on our podcast. I feel like a jerk. How often are you guys releasing? What does that schedule look like for you guys? Where can they find your podcast? All those sort of things.
So we were doing like 2 to 3 a week, but right now we're kind of slowing down because the whole pandemic thing kind of makes us a little slower. But right now we're doing about 1-ish a week. Sometimes we take a week off, sometimes we don't. Just kind of, it's been hard. But, so we try to do at least once a week.
Yeah.
we are on Spotify and Apple Podcast and SoundCloud, all of them From Bob's Office. We have a Twitter and an Instagram that you can also keep up with.
FROMBOBSOFFICE.
Hey, it's been a while.
I know.
The last podcast we had, I messed up terribly. And it was
And if you happen to listen to this podcast before next Tuesday, we have a really cool guest on next Tuesday who is kind of another connection I made of this guy. Yeah. His name's Jack Witherspoon.
Sprinkleton. Okay, Witherspoon. That's it. Dang it.
Sprinkleton.
I thought I could remember.
Jack Witherspoon, who 3 different times between the ages of, I believe, 3 and 15 had cancer and overcame it all 3 times. And in doing so, he really latched on to cooking. Yeah. And he became he published a cooking book. He was on a bunch of cooking shows. He's now created a product called a scone. That is a combination scone and cookie that is available for purchase. And we are going to have him on our podcast on Tuesday.
So good.
They are very good.
I've purchased them multiple times. He has vanilla bean is one flavor, and
the cinnamon something. That
cinnamon
one.
sugar,
I like
think,
that one.
is the other flavor, and they are both delicious.
Good.
So if you're listening to this right now and hungry, Chef Jack Witherspoon, sconies.com. Go get yourself some delicious treats.
Love that. Yeah, and then also you can check out Jake Hardy. He's one of our friends, close friends. He has a world record for throwing a paper airplane. So go check out that one. That one's great. You got a couple other good ones that are fire. Some people sharing some, and also people sharing some deep stories, which is, it's been. I was sitting there. I remember I was cooking. I was like, dang, dude, this is cutting me deep right now. I was like, I'm hearing these people share their heart. So go check out their podcast, From Bob's Office. And that's all. That's all we got for you guys today. We love you so much. We miss you guys. And peace to the Middle East. Mike, sign them off.
Love you guys. Peace.